Well, greetings, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Labor Live at 5. I'm your host, Rick Levy, with the Texas AFL-CIO, and we have a really important show to bring to you tonight. I think it's going to be a fun show, too, but we have some pretty strong information to talk about and bring to you. This is the week of Workers' Memorial Day, which is Wednesday of this year, where every year we pause to honor the workers who have died on the job due to unsafe working conditions, accidents, etc. And this year, the Workers' Memorial Day is a lot more poignant than most as we look back over the last year and a half of dealing with COVID and all of the losses that our brothers and sisters have sustained over the past year. And so we want to spend a little time talking about that, but we also want to talk about what we can do to fix that. And this is also the time, this is also the week that the National Labor Movement is focused on passage of the PRO Act, which will give workers a real shot at organizing to get a fair shot for themselves and their families on the job. And so this is our first event of the week. This is Labor Live at 5, dedicated to the PRO Act, dedicated to honoring Workers' Memorial Day. And to do that, we have two really amazing guests that I'm really excited to have with us. The first one is Jerrod Strange. Jerrod is an organizer with the District Council of the Iron Workers for Texas and the Mid-South. Many of you might know Jerrod. He's been out roaming the wilds of West Texas, organizing construction workers. He's been the head of the building trades out there. He's on the executive board of the Texas AFL-CIO, and is just a really, really solid human being. So thank you so much for joining us, Jerrod.
Thank you.
All right. And then we have Ana Gonzalez, who is the policy director with Workers Defense. Ana, originally from El Paso. I guess we have kind of a West Texas bias tonight. But you know, when you think of unions, you think of West Texas, so that's appropriate. But Ana has been working at Workers Defense for, how many years, Ana?
6 years almost.
6 years, and has been walking the halls of the Capitol, fighting for working people. Now is organizing around the state in local jurisdictions to help folks have a voice on the job. And Ana, we're real proud to have you with us here tonight too. So thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah. So let's start, Jerrod, with you. And just, Texas, we know, is one of the most dangerous places in the country to work construction. Can you tell us a little bit about that from your perspective as an iron worker and an organizer?
I believe that when you look at Texas and what the problem we got is we've got such an influx. There's so many people out there. Our poor undocumented workers, they've got a loophole where they can abuse these people and use them on a 1099 setup, and therefore there's no enforcement. And there's no background, there's no workman comp requirements, and it just opens up a whole new avenue of no compliance, and therefore you got a lot of workman's comp claims that don't get through, guys that are getting sent to the hospital and paying their own bills, and it's just rampant. And there's so much construction. When you combine a boom in construction along with that problem, it just balloons it. And it turns into an overwhelming nightmare in a way.
Yeah, that's I like the way you just connected all those issues in one thing, about how our immigration policy leads to unsafe workplaces, how the fact that Texas is the only state in the country that doesn't even have workers' comp requirements, and just the rampant noncompliance is part of what leads to Texas being so unsafe. Ana, what's y'all's perspective? Why don't you say a little bit about what Workers Defense Project is for those who don't know, and give us your perspective on what Jerrod had to say.
Absolutely. Well, Workers Defense, we're a statewide membership-based organization fighting for better working conditions for low-wage workers and immigrants in Texas. And I agree 100%. I mean, we know that construction workers are the backbone of the Texas economy. Construction workers build our homes, our roads, and our schools, and construction workers have been at the front lines of this pandemic. Construction workers, like so many other workers in the state and in the country, are essential workers and have always been essential. But instead of, prioritizing the needs of their families who have been suffering long before this pandemic of not having basic safety protections on the job, and like Jerrod was saying, Texas is the only state that does not require workers' compensation. Texas continues to be the most dangerous place for workers. 608 workers died on the job in 2019, with the highest number of fatalities in the country. And construction workers are particularly at risk. 123 construction workers died on the job in 2019, the highest number again in the U.S. state. So we know that construction workers are over 70% of construction workers in our state are foreign-born, and 50% of those workers are undocumented workers. So we know that this adds a layer to all the unsafe conditions that they already face.
So let's talk about that. And that's really powerful information. And I guess, Anna, when you stop and think about it, the number of lives lost in that is staggering. Folks who went to work trying to earn a living for their families and never came home that night. And I just think that one would be too many. But for Texas to so far outpace the other states, even states that even have more people like California or New York, just that we continue to struggle with this issue is just maddening, and it's just infuriating. Jerrod, when you hear those kind of statistics, like what is it? What do you encounter like when you try and organize folks in your trade, the iron workers?
My trade, as a building trades guy, even all the other trades, what we encounter is scared to do anything. These guys have been so just held down by their owners that pay them, that they just do whatever the owner tells them to do. It's almost like we're going back in time to a time when the owner controlled everything, even the laws and everything. And we know how Texas is right now. We're kind of in that position. It's kind of funny. You cannot get these guys to stand up and realize that they have a voice, and they don't have to risk their lives to be able to have a decent pay and go home and have a good family life. They're scared that they're going to lose their job. They're scared that they're not going to be able to get another job, or in our case, be deported.
Wow. What do you? That's quite an array that's lined up against somebody that's wanting to stand up. Do you see that too, Anna? I imagine.
Yeah, we know that our members, construction is already a job that is difficult, that is unsafe. But absolutely, we see that in many cases, the immigration status of our members or construction workers is used against them. And if there are victims of wage theft or injury or other situations of the job site, and they're raising concerns, they're threatened because of that. So at Workers Defense, this was pre-COVID, and now we do it in a virtual space, but workers learn about their rights, learn that regardless of your immigration status, everybody has the right to a safe job. Everybody has the right to living wage, a minimum wage, and overtime, and all of the other things that are in place are not enough, but they are in place for all workers, regardless of their status. So when workers come to our doors, or now, this virtual spaces that we have, workers learn about their rights and how to, when we are united and come together, we can make differences.
Yeah. Jerrod, when she was talking, it was like, I think of the iron workers. And one of the reasons why I was really excited that you were joining us tonight is because if we're just honest about our history, a lot of times, given how many immigrants and how many undocumented workers are in the construction industry, I think in the past, there was a lot of sentiment to blame those folks, that those folks are taking our jobs, and seeing them as the problem. And one of the things that I think is so cool about the iron workers is your approach that sees, A, that when certain people don't have rights, it's not safe for everyone, but B, that everybody who works in the trade deserves to have a voice, and that you all really have embraced that in your approach. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that works in your union?
Well, we kind of realized that you got to look at your past and your mistakes that you made and the things that worked. And even before our training got really good, our biggest thing was organizing and getting out there and meeting these people. And like she said, educating everybody on what their rights really are and what they can do. These people just come in to get a job just like I did when I started. And if you are educated on how and what you can do to better your situation, it helps a lot. And we have taken that old model and moved it back, because that was when we were booming up to 90% of the population. And we're reusing that model to try to make a ground. And we're slowly making ground. The laws are kind of against us, but it's slowly working that way.
Yeah, and laws are against us, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about how we're going to be honoring Workers' Memorial Day that's on this Wednesday. I know that, Anna, you guys are, well, I guess let me first say, and thanks to Mark Maldonado, our intrepid producer, keeping me on script here. But anyway, on Wednesday is the Texas AFL-CIO Workers' Memorial Day, and we're having a virtual vigil. And we're going to put in the comments how you connect to that, but we're going to be having some speeches. We're going to be having a space where people can view the vigil, can make their comments, can remember the folks that were important to them that they lost in this last year, and just honor the memory of all those who have lost their lives because they had to work in very, very unsafe conditions. I'm not talking about just construction, but construction, retail, schools, transportation, you name it. All of our sectors have really experienced a lot of loss this year, and we wanted to make sure that we have a place to kind of come together, at least virtually, around that. But Anna, you guys are doing something really cool here at the Capitol. Can you tell folks about that?
We are. We're very excited about it. But, you know, Mr. President, following the devastating year where working families were left to tend for themselves in unprecedented working conditions, Workers Defense Action Fund's Immigrant Essential Resilient Arts Exhibit, which is launching today inside the Texas State Capitol, honors lives lost, workers who have put their lives on the line, and members of Workers Defense who have been impacted by COVID-19. And we wanted to create an exhibit commemorating those who died and those who continued to power the Texas economy despite the challenges that our members and our communities have faced. So we're super excited about launching our art exhibit. It's in the ground rotunda of the Capitol, and people are welcome to visit the Capitol if you're there. You can also learn a little bit more about our exhibit at workersdied.org, where you can learn about the different pieces that our members worked on and how, sharing their stories and how this pandemic has impacted, and other things are really important for them, like immigration reform and more protections for construction workers. So please, if you can, take a look at this incredible pieces that our members worked on.
So this is actually artwork that your members have created themselves to honor their coworkers. How did that come about? Like, how did y'all do that?
So we actually partner with incredible artists that did different workshops with our members. And we actually had participation from members in Dallas, Houston, and Austin. And there were different workshops where different methods were used to put the art together. And materials were mailed to members, and then they came back to the artists. And yesterday, we actually went to the Capitol to put all of it together. So it is just incredible. It is just so powerful. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the individual pieces and our member stories, you can visit workersdied.org. And you can also learn more about the artists that partner with us.
Yeah, so we're just looking at some of the samples now. And I just have to say that, you know, when you're walking through the Capitol and all of the horrible things that are happening there, and then you come across this, like in the very heart of the Capitol, that every person who comes in that building is going to walk by and look. It is such a powerful statement. So deep respect to y'all for putting this together and bringing the voices and stories of your members to the center of Texas government, so that everybody has to consider that. That must be a powerful feeling for your members to actually see that.
Absolutely. And like I said, we had our launch today, and one of our Austin members, Rosendo, who's just so incredible and a fighter for construction workers and their families, wrote a song about what it is to be a construction worker. So you can find all of this in this website, and we're just extremely proud, and I am honored to get to work with our members and just how, you know, they channel their experiences through art and just like how talented they are in everything that they do. Yeah,
that's very, yeah, we're much more than what we do for a living for 8 hours a day, for sure, which I think is a really another really important piece of the exhibit. To really, I mean, we're talking about not an iron worker, but a human being. And not an electrician, but a human being. And I think that, you know, so often the folks that make the decision in the state about what the laws are going to be have no conception of what that really means. And so thank you to you and your members for bringing that forward. And so one of the things we wanted to do, let me just also say that there's going to be other events around the state. I know that the folks at the Gulf Coast ALF, who always have a mighty program going on, are going to be having an event Wednesday evening. I think the information on that is going to be posted in the comments as well. But, you know, if, yeah, there we have it. And it's also a joint project of the Houston Gulf Coast Building Trades, the laborers, the Fe Justicia Worker Center, and the Gulf Coast ALF.
We are joining as well.
What? We
are joining as well.
Oh, you're joining as well. So, so are you saying that was a typo from Mark just to leave you off, or what?
No, I don't think.
No.
I don't think so.
No, Workers Defense will also be. So a lot of people don't know, actually, that Workers Defense is actually a chartered affiliate of the Texas AFL-CIO. So you are not just an ally, but actually part of this organization. And I think that's a really important statement and really powerful to observe as well. So thank you for that. So one of the things we wanted to do as we talk about safety, and Jerrod, I think I want to come back to you on this because you kind of referenced it about how when people don't have rights on the job, you know, how scared they are to organize, and the impact that that has on the health and safety of every worker. And so the connection between Workers' Memorial Day and the PRO Act is a pretty tight connection. So you want to talk about what the PRO Act would mean if it passed for your members and the folks you're trying to organize?
Yeah, sure. But the PRO Act is going to open us up and get rid of some of the anti-union rhetoric that comes through when you try to do an election. And there's nothing worse. These guys all work together and they mix around different job sites, and they watch an election over here on this project, and we just get beat down because the laws are so lenient. They see that, and then when we come over to their side and try to organize on that side, then they're kind of standoffish. They're like, hey, we seen how they acted and how half the crew got fired because they were talking about the union on the job. And even though that's illegal, there's no backup on it. And the PRO Act will put the teeth in the backup that we need and give us that fair opportunity to, if a group wants to be union, they actually can have a chance to be union and not have to fight to the end to try to get to that point.
And what kind of impact do you think that would have on the safety practices at a job site? I mean, you've worked on both. I mean, you've worked on a lot of construction sites in Texas. So, like from your real, like on a real, like nuts and bolts perspective, what does it mean to actually have the protection of a union when it comes to health and safety? And I just want to point out for the listeners, just for a second, because some of them might not have caught the fact that I said nuts and bolts perspective when talking about construction and like why that was funny. So we're just going to pause for a minute so people can like just take in the fact that I said nuts and bolts perspective when we were talking about construction. You got it? Are we? You think we're ready to go on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead. So from your perspective, what's the difference?
It's their selling point right to the front. If you have a union, you got representation. You got somebody there, and you got a legal binding contract, and we can put them safety references into that contract where you have some kind of backing to protect yourself, and you got your representation. We do it all the time with our own contractors. Something comes up, guy calls us up, we run out there and we sit down with them and try to make it right, you know, and try to make sure, all the way from water to extremely dangerous falls and stuff that can actually take a life. So, you know, it goes across the whole spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, and from your perspective, Anna, like what would it mean for your members if the right to organize was truly real in this country?
Well, you know, the PRO Act will literally give workers a fair shot when they're fighting for better working conditions. So it really means that, and you said it earlier today, it means that when all workers are protected and they're safe on the job, we have it's that we have all workers that are going to be protected on the job. So it will make a huge difference for our members, for union members. So we're very much supportive on the PRO Act, and we call on U.S. senators to bring it up. It's time to pass this bill.
Exactly. And so there's the phone number. I hope that everybody that's watching can take time this week to call, to get your coworkers to call. You call 866-832-1560 and you'll get connected to your senators, and you can tell them how important it is that workers finally have a voice. You know, Ted Cruz has been going all over the country now talking about how the Republican Party is the party now that stands for blue collar workers, and how it's really people like him that are fighting for people who go to work for a living every day. We've yet to see the first Republican United States senator that would support the most fundamental right that a worker has, which is to join with his or her fellow workers to improve their conditions on the job. So we're going to be putting together a petition this week. So in addition to calling, which you have to do, we're going to be circulating our Cruz, Cornyn PRO Act petition to try and get these two senators to hear from us about how important the PRO Act is. So we hope that everybody will join with us on that. I just want to give a shout out to Betty Pringer, who we all know, who has one of the finer appreciations of in terms of senses of humor in the state. So Betty, thank you very much for always being so aware of talent when it comes to the way we turn a phrase. Thank you for that. We do want to remind folks that this PRO Act is not going to pass itself. It's not going to pass because a bunch of people are going to finally decide that this is really a good idea. They had it wrong all along. Anna, how did y'all get? One of the most shameful things that I can't even imagine is that Texas has two cities, Dallas and Austin, that passed an ordinance that required that construction workers even get a rest break in the middle of the heat of an afternoon. And that was not because folks decided that was a good idea. How did we get that, Anna?
We organize our communities, we organize our members, and we call on our local elected officials to do what the state and federal government have failed to do. Because like you said, workers don't have the right to take a 10-minute break when they've been working for hours in the sun. So we did this and joined our Labor Familia and many other organizations in calling for this basic safety protection that can save lives.
save lives. And it's like, that was a huge fight, and it continues to be a huge fight because they're trying to pass legislation like SB 14 this session that would make it illegal for cities to require a rest break even for construction workers. And we know that folks who have a union, Jerrod, we get a break, right?
Yes, sir.
So
it's in the contract. It's all about the contract.
It's in the contract. So look, we got to get this PRO Act passed. We got to build a fire around this country so that elected officials can either lead or get out of the way. But it's time for working folks to have a say, and the PRO Act is it. So I just want to remind folks that Wednesday is Workers' Memorial Day. Take a minute out and honor the folks that we've lost. And then let's fight like hell for the living, as the saying goes, and get the PRO Act passed so that when it comes to future Workers' Memorial Days, the list of folks we're remembering will be a much, much shorter one. So Anna, Jerrod, thank you both for joining us. You guys are awesome. You do the work in places that are so difficult and under such circumstances that are so difficult. And you're just a commitment to fighting wherever the fight needs to be for workers is so admirable. And the fact that you would share your perspectives with us is really meaningful, and we really appreciate it. Thank you for that. Let us know as we move forward how we can, at the Texas AFL-CIO, can work with you to accomplish the goals that you have. And let's all fight together to make this state a better place we can all be proud of. So thank you all very much. We'll see you next week, and have a very safe week. And we'll hopefully we'll see you at some of these events moving forward. Thank you all.
Thank you.